It's a great pleasure to welcome to our 2020 Online Trend Summit, Josh Goodman, founder of incredibly innovative beverage tap and dispensing company, PourMyBeer. Josh is here to talk about the PourMyBeer story, about the relevance of contactless beer pouring, how it could likely impact the culture into the future of drinking, the challenges of commercialization, and why Coca Cola have invested in his idea and his brand. Josh, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. I big fan of the UK. I need to get over there a little bit more, but I hopefully my message is helpful to your attendees.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, on that note, can we start by just setting the scene? Can you tell us a bit about what PourMyBeer do? What do you do as a business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I always believe that any business worth growing is one that solves a pretty large problem. And I'm sure I'm not the only person at this event that has ever had to queue up at the bar and wait for a drink. So
Definitely not.
That's ultimately where the journey began. I was at the time in an IT staffing company, and I was at a bar with a couple of friends from college. We met up to go to a baseball game, and we were there for about an hour, and it took us about 30 minutes just to get our first round of drinks. And I was just sitting there, and I was thinking, this is crazy. Like at the time, it was 2009, and we're waiting there for 30 minutes. And I just started doing the math and figuring out, well, we're not the only people in this bar or pub, and everyone's waiting, and the owner's losing money. I said, there's got to be a better way to get large amounts of beverages out in an efficient manner. And so that's where the journey began. I can kind of take you back through the learning process, but my original prototype was laughable. I think they always say you should be able to laugh at your first first go round. It was more of a foam machine than a beer dispensing machine. I set it up in a bar in downtown Baltimore, and it was really simple. It had a key in it, and you had to put the key in to open up the taps, and you could pour up to 2 pitchers of beer, and then it would stop, and then the server had to come with their key and unlock it, and then it would pour another 2 pitchers. And that was really kind of the first validation that, well, at least I'm going down this path of solving this problem, even though that product did not solve the problem whatsoever. I probably sold a problem versus a solution at that point in my journey. And to take you through the last decade, it's, I say the first 5 years of the 2010 decade, it was a lot of learning. So I partnered with a company out of Ireland who had worked with Diageo through a self-pour, pour your own pint concept. And it was unique, so their whole goal was to displace Heineken for Carlsberg in the Irish market. And so they put these tables out in the market, and it was just perfect timing. I flew over to Ireland, met with them, and we brought it to the United States. And that was 2010 through 2012. We deployed 274 of those tables throughout the United States. And so that was some validation for me. Like, people actually did like to pour their own drinks, but in America, people also like choice. So saying you can only choose from 2 drinks or 2 products at a table really didn't solve the bigger problem. So that's when it evolved to, how can we give people the choice to pour anything they want? And so, we solved this problem with a few basic components: a flow meter, a valve, and a PCB board with a screen, so you knew how much you were pouring as you were pouring it. And that really took us. So I tried to partner with other companies that had similar products, and found out the hard way that just wasn't the way to go about growing a company. Ultimately, if you are relying on someone else's technology, you're at the mercy of their faults. So that was really 2013 and 14 was I call it I had a midlife crisis, hopefully not midlife crisis, mental breakdown, burnout. I mean, everything you can think of in a entrepreneur's journey that happened in 2014. But it set me up for something in 2015 where I partnered with an Austrian company to make my own product that I could deploy, with the sole purpose that my 6-year-old son at the time could actually install it and support it. And I call that our real start date, was 2015, because really everything before then, it wasn't PourMyBeer. It was, a variety of different companies reselling their technologies. And when we launched in 2015, it was just really me and one other part-time person, and fast forwarding to now, we've deployed over 7,000 taps internationally in the UK as well. Nottingham is one of our larger locations in UK. And then, we're getting brought into these projects by large operators, Caesars, Marriott, Whole Foods, Inspire Brands, some of the largest names in hospitality they're coming to us because they see that we solve a very large problem, the guest experience and efficiency. So, we're going to continue to innovate down that path.
And how do you describe what you do now? I talked to you about you being kind of an innovative beverage dispensing company. How do you describe yourself? What do you?
Yeah, so first, I like to, even though the name says beer, we're actually liquid agnostic. So we don't discriminate on any liquid. It can be beer, wine, cocktails, kombucha, cold brew coffee. We have dispensed and monitored everything. But when I first started this business, I look at the guest experience as a hamburger. So the inside is the meat, which is the guest experience from when you open a tab to when you close a tab. But the real where the magic happens is the buns. So I mean, just like a good sandwich, like the meat's important, but if you don't have good bread, it just kind of takes away from the sandwich. So we solved that meat problem from day one. So when you opened a tab, you could pour and dispense what you want and get charged by the ounce, and in the UK by the milliliter or the liter or percentage of that. So it solved that problem. But what we had not solved was how do you open a tab quickly and how do you create the Uber-esque experience of when you're done, you can just leave. And so by integrating with some of the industry titans of point of sales, we've solved that problem. And that's really where we've been putting a lot of our energy and our focus is making it so a customer can walk in the door, get a tab opened that's actually connect and sync to the card or RFID device. And then everything that's happening is being automatically put onto that check. So then at the end of the night, when they're ready to leave, they can, just get out of the car and walk away without having to pay anybody because all of the transactions have already taken place. And they can just drop their card in a bucket. Or if they want to check out manually, they can. But we wanted to make that full hamburger experience a great one. And that's where we've been focusing a lot of our attention is making that just a very seamless process.
Yeah. What have some of the challenges been along the way? Getting your idea and your concept to the point of where you are now. What have been some of the challenges? I'm sure there've been a few.
It's I've had foam nightmares. And earlier on in the day, I sold a decent amount of systems to Labatt up in Canada. And what I didn't realize is that elevation impacts how well beer dispenses. So if you don't have the right pressure, the right temperature, it's going to just pour straight foam. So those are some pretty painful challenges. I mean, I remember my wife, she was like, just fly up there, spend a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks up there until the problem goes away. It's not going to go away. And that's ultimately what I did do. I flew up there and spent about 2 weeks in Calgary at the time. But I learned a lot. I got to work with their draft techs directly. I learned why beer, would pour foamy in a high elevation location. But some of the more painful lessons I've learned or experiences, one when we were first getting started, and I was selling something that didn't exist. So you're talking to customers about a product that you can't even point at and say, hey, this is how it works, and this is the customer that's proving that it does work. So for me, I'd leveraged a lot of the capital that I had at the time to just get this business off the ground. And I guess to point of reference, it was 2015. So I just launched our new product. I'd sold every stock that I had at the time to leverage that. I'd taken out bank loans that were being paid back daily. I mean, it was a stressful time. And I remember there was a point where I only had a few $1,000s left in our checking account. And our main installer at the time, he wasn't working full time for me. So he was doing some other things part time. And ultimately, he got put in jail. So, I won't go into that. But he was transporting, purportedly transporting things from the West Coast to the East Coast. But great guy. So I figured out I have to do this on my own. So I had to fly to Seattle and do an installation on my own. And then I had to get on a plane and fly to Boston and do another installation on my own. But if I hadn't done that, the company would have probably died because we needed deliver those projects to get paid.
To get paid.
Vendors. And I think in any industry or any business, you have to have those kind of do or die moments. And that's what at the time I was extremely stressful, but I am thankful that I had to go through that because it builds calluses.
And how did that sort of pave the way for what ultimately was Coca Cola investing in your idea? How did that come about?
Yeah, being from kind of a rural part of Virginia growing up, the last thing I kind of envisioned was that one of the largest beverage companies in the world would want to purchase a stake in my company. So, going back into kind of how they say you have to connect the dots backwards. Yeah. So those dots are connected backwards, and a lot of things lined up perfectly for it. So it wasn't necessarily Coca Cola; it was Coca Cola European Partners. So it's the bottling division of Coca Cola, and they're obviously very large presence in the UK, very large presence in Western Europe, and so their motivation was that, as you may know, in 2021 they're outlawing plastic bottles for Europe. So part of that initiative is they set aside an investment fund to invest in companies that can help solve those problems and help pave the way for the future of Coca-Cola and dispense of their beverages. So we checked a lot of the boxes. We're I talk about the hamburger and what we saw as far as the hospitality side, but there's a lot of data that we're collecting in the process. So we can tell our customers everything. We can tell them how what products are the most resampled, how what's the keg life of a certain product versus another, and we can do that across 7,000 taps. So when Coca-Cola, European Partners got kind of wind of that. Plus, my main partner who owns equity in my company is based in Austria, which sits perfectly in the European, territory. Yeah, it just, their experience with soft drinks as well as lends credibility to our company and our product. But it was really a combination of all those coming together. And we had some investors from New York that had helped make that introduction to Coca-Cola, and it was encouraging to hear that out of their entire portfolio of companies they've invested in, they saw us as the one that checked the most boxes and the one they were the most interested in working with. So, their investment in us is helping us fuel our growth in the United States when it comes to our current product and the tap room model that we've created. And, it's also, we're working on some specialty projects with them that are going to check all the boxes that they need checked in Europe. So, there's a lot of really exciting things that come with that partnership besides the capital that we're really just kind of scratching the surface with.
Yeah. That must be an incredibly exciting time for you as a business. As you say, sounds like you're just at the tip of the iceberg of what you can do and where you can go with them.
Yeah, it's I love being sold on my product in our company by our customers. And so I say that because we recently talked to one of our customers in Massachusetts who is in a pretty kind of heavily regulated state. Where the outdoor dining and everything is being kind of pushed upon them, but they're doing great. And one of the owners, they own a 9,000 square foot facility, which is a pretty large restaurant, bar, tap room concept, and it's a very open floor concept. But this owner particularly used to work for Cheesecake Factory, which is a pretty large organization in the United States, and I imagine has a presence in the UK. And he said to run a Cheesecake Factory, he needed 40 to 50 employees on staff at any given time. And he said he's doing the same revenue that he did out of the Cheesecake Factory with 5 employees. So they're able to run a 400 or 500 person, open tab situation with 5 people because of our technology. And so I feel like it's the more people become aware that you can run an efficient machine with our technology without actually improving the guest experience. It's a no-brainer for the evolution of the hospitality industry.
So I assume from your point of view that that PourMyBeer was hugely relevant pre-COVID-19. Obviously, I'll ask you about its relevance in the new era in a second, but it feels like it was extremely relevant for a whole host of other reasons before all of this happened.
Yeah, it's from an efficiency perspective, from a guest experience perspective, it checked all those boxes. But then when COVID hit, the social distancing perspective, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You go into a traditional pub or restaurant, you have to, you might have 4 or 5 people touching your glass before you touch it. If you're queuing up at the bar, you might be 3 or 4 people deep trying to get one beverage. What I love about our concept is I can go into a 50 tap or even a 30 tap location, and people can easily keep a 6-foot distance at all times from anyone in the space, because the transaction time is less than 20 seconds versus traditionally a transaction time is going to be anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes just to get a beverage. So, when you look at that type of, efficiency impact and that type of, I guess, spatial, using the most of a space, it just, I guess you could say I drink a lot of our own Kool-Aid, but it just makes perfect sense.
Something that you've just started to touch on then, do you feel that this is in any way dehumanizing the experience? Is this the end of the barman, barwoman in out-of-home drinking establishments?
I hope not. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy going to, even when I was in England, just going to the pubs and, someone pulling the pint, and just having interaction with them. My goal is that there's a place for this in the industry. It's definitely not a mass appeal, but I believe there's at least a, 30, 40, maybe 50% opportunity to implement our technology to help hospitality. And I think we all can agree hospitality could use a little bit of help at this point. We need to evolve. And you think back to times before they had point of sale systems and the automated tills, just the impact that had to the industry. I hope that we can make a similar impact to give, bar owners, business owners, pub owners, that leverage that they need right now.
Yeah. And how do you see the PourMyBeer technology shifting drinking and, I suppose, social culture into the future?
Yeah, I think when it comes to people in general, they love to try things. And that's one of the things, looking at our data, that really excites me is you can see that someone that may have gone to a pub and tried 1 or 2 drinks, or maybe they would have never tried anything else because they're making a $10 or $12 decision before they order their drink. Now they can make a 50-cent decision or a 30-cent decision, and they can try something. So, we look at some of our user data where someone will go in and try 23 different things. To try 23 different beers at a traditional pub, either you're kind of a freeloader, you're just trying to get free stuff from the bartender, the barman, or you have to drink 23 pints, which I don't suggest anyone should do. So I love the idea that we're able to give people that freedom to sample and taste and experiment. Even with cocktails, I love that, my wife, who's a big mojito person, can go into some of our locations like Tapster and try 10 different cocktails without having to order, $120 worth of drinks. It's just a very unique experience that I think, people they pay for experiences. That's the whole, concept is, we don't sell a product, we sell an experience.
And what new possibilities do you think this technology brings? And you've touched on a couple there from a drinker's perspective. What other opportunities does the technology bring from an operator perspective? Yeah,
so there's a lot of opportunities for the operator. They can with rewards programs, and also we're starting to dive into some of the artificial intelligence aspects of it, where if you go in and you try 4 or 5, and we know that you liked a certain product because you went back and had more, then if it's connected to your device, then it can say, hey, well, if you it looks like you like this product, you'd probably like this one as well. So some suggestive management, but also, when it comes to making our operators more educated and smarter about their patrons, we're starting to kind of cut that data up in a way that they can consume it to see, oh, well, this zip code, we have a higher average check, so we're going to advertise more in this zip code, or this age or sex demographic tends to be our niche, so we're going to focus our marketing on that. So we really want to arm our customers with as many tools and weapons as they can to help them run a successful business. Because if we're just focusing on that hamburger, the bun and the meat, we're not helping them as much as we can. So by communalizing our customers and through our Facebook group that only our customers have access to, by connecting our customers strategically with our more successful customers through fireside chats and things like that, where we really just want to continue to lay down that recipe for success, because we want everyone that's using our technology to thrive in it. And when it comes to touchless and where we're going, we have created a touchless version of our system. With draft beer, it's a little more tricky, but traditional sodas and kombuchas and cold brew coffees and cocktails, that's a much easier process. So we're still in the beta side of that, where we're making it so customers could literally just put their cup under the faucet and it pours, and then when they pull it away. And we're doing that with some proprietary patented technology that we've developed. It's not just a sensor-based dispense. It's actually it knows it's a cup, and it knows that cup has been pre-authorized. So we're continuing to try to connect those dots to make it a simple process for the operator and the user.
And why is it more difficult from a craft beer perspective? I assume is that because of the intricacies of the pouring and that kind of thing? Is that the issue there?
Yeah, beer's a fickle product. It's one of the most difficult to have pour properly out of any beverage there is, and that's because the temperature has to be at the right temperature, and the higher the temperature, the more the pressure. So it's kind of like a balancing act. But when you open a tap, if anyone that's ever poured a pint, if you open a tap not the whole way, then it's going to spit out foam, and then if you spit out foam, then more foam is going to come, even if you do open it the whole way after that. And with the automated pouring, it just leaves a window of opportunity for failure or open. So we're trying to get it to a point where it is, because we put a solenoid valve in the line, and the solenoid valve it's a click. It opens all the way or it's closed all the way. But there's a little space in the line where it has to refill that space in the line, and that refilling that space is where it creates some friction with the beer, and it creates a little bit of foam. And again, I don't want to put something out in the market that's not going to allow everyone to have a great experience. But I think with the right training and the right, there's some engineering that can take place to make that even better. But the other option is where you just literally place the glass there, and the glass lifts up and tilts and does all the pouring itself, which we can do. But then that takes kind of the fun out of it, of being able to open the tap and pour.
Yeah, sure.
So we have come up with some solutions that work with that, where they can either take like a traditional napkin or a glove and use that to pour, so they're not actually touching anything.
Yeah.
And one of our salespeople actually invented a product called Tapkins that also can just slide over the tap and just it's like a little dispenser. So you pull the Tapkin out and you slide it over, and you can pour that way. So we have come up with ways around it, so people that are nervous about touching anything can kind of navigate their way through the process.
Yeah. Okay. If you were to look forward 5 years and then 10 years, what do you see as the role that PourMyBeer will have on the way that we interact with beverages on the future horizon?
Yeah. So we've I guess it's yet to be determined whether we've crossed the chasm. There's a book called Crossing the Chasm. But I feel like we've got enough market validation to really, have a educated discussion with any smart operator on why it makes sense to go this route. It's funny. I was just talking to our sales team. I was like, I'm surprised we don't just get bombarded. I mean, we do get a large amount of leads, but it's, anyone that heard some of the stats that I just said, if they're not calling us, they're not investing in their future, because that's where we are. We're I would say a few years ahead of where the industry is going to be, and a lot of operators that have already deployed our technology, you could probably classify them as early adopters or innovators to some degree. Yeah. But they sell our product better than I ever could, because they're actually implementing it every single day. But where I see this, I know our marketing manager probably wouldn't like me saying this, but we want to transition from PourMyBeer to PourMyBeverage, because we love our name right now. We love what we've done with our customers, and we're not going to forget PourMyBeer, but we want to make sure that everyone sees that we can do every beverage. So, whether it comes to, cocktails, and we're working with a proprietary technology right now that can, you can put the cocktail in the point of sales, and then it'll send that order to our machine that'll make the cocktail. And so that process will be a lot easier. You don't have to worry about, having 10 bartenders on staff that can make a Harvey Wallbanger. It's just they can be made by a machine. I see us getting more into the data side and really helping businesses data is such I would say, abused word in today's day and age. So our goal is to simplify it so it's not data, it's actionable items. So actionable information that they can use to run their pubs and their businesses more efficiently and effectively. We can give them real-time access to what's their keg yield. That's a number that's kind of a mystery, it's I would say it's at best it's a pencil, number, because you don't know how much is coming out of the keg. I mean, you might have a meter in there, you might have a point of sales, but when every sale that's happening is tied to our system because the user is pouring it, that's a level of accountability that's just never been accessible before. I see the more we grow and the more taps we have, say when we get to 50 or 100,000 taps, and even with the non-alcoholic, I see that information being very valuable to the large brands.
Yeah, of course.
And I believe Coca Cola sees that as well, because in theory, if they have 50,000 locations in Western Europe, and we put our technology on all of them, now they've got a view of everything that's going on across the board that can help with their marketing team. It can help with their process and inventory management team. It can help the success of rolling out new products and new brands. So there's just a level of visibility that we can provide the market that just currently doesn't exist. And I view our self-pour concept as kind of the Trojan horse to gather that information, even though that Trojan horse happens to be 400 times more or 400% more efficient than any other method of dispense. It happens to be, cut your overall cost by 25%. So, in the States, I always say you have to buy 4 kegs to sell 3, because they've accepted that 25% of the kegs are going to be just, going down the drain. With our system, there's a 96% yield on average. So when the pour is attached to a check, there's just no way around that. You can't steal. So I'm excited about the future. I mean, obviously the Coca Cola investment does throw an extra added amount of jet fuel into our engine, but we're gonna keep delivering just a great user experience. I think that's got to be the focus for the user and the operator.
And I suppose a great point to wrap up on is what's next for PourMyBeer.
Yeah, so we're doing some projects in Spain with Coca Cola. When we can make them, I guess you could say, public knowledge, I will. But it's exciting, the projects that we're being brought into with them. In the United States, we had our best sales month ever last month. Mm-hmm. We're expanding pretty rapidly here as far as new and innovative projects. I mean, there's one project we just got brought into it's like they're redoing an entire waterfront based off of our concept. I mean, it's probably a $15-20 million undertaking, and we're the center of all of it. So, there's just some exciting things that are happening, just even from a 3 to 6 month period. But we're going to continue to double down on integrations. We're going to continue to upgrade the amount of data that we can provide our customers. And really just setting ourselves up for that national rollout customer that's coming at us. And
I guess that transition into PourMyBeverage. I loved your expression earlier on, being liquid agnostic. That's great.
I want to make sure that people know that we treat all beverages equally. So it's not just beer, but who doesn't like a good beer?
Indeed. Josh, thank you so much for that fascinating look at contactless and tap-based beverages, as well as your personal story and anecdotes and thoughts as we've gone through that, and also your thoughts on beverage consumption into the future. Josh, a great pleasure to welcome you as a speaker to our 2020 Trend Summit in this new online format. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles, and appreciate everybody for attending.